Continuing our discussion on international and national perspectives on cybersecurity, I'd like to draw your attention to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's policy on cyber war. They have some interesting publications that might be useful to you and some interesting concepts to share. But first, I'd like to ask a question, and this is for your reflection. Assuming there's an attack on a nation's electoral process, is this an act of war? And as a follow-up, when is an intrusion a crime and when is it an act of war? And further, how will we know? These are the stakes that we're wrestling with in today's society as we see more and more nation-state involvement on the internet. We can no longer avoid paying attention. And as I said earlier, I really miss the good old days when all we were worried about were malicious kids jumping online, creating wrecking balls for desktops. It was a little easier. This begins to really revolutionize how we think about society and our responsibilities as citizens. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, has set up a center of excellence in Tallinn, Estonia, that has been studying these implications of that, the implications of that question that I posed for some time. This is a recent publication or communication from the COE, and they're basically stating that no modern nation can ignore threats in cyberspace any longer. Recently, the COE, the Center of Excellence, published something called the Tallinn Cyber Warfare Manual 2.0. These are available on Amazon if you're interested in ordering them. 1.0 was released a few years ago, and it was looking at articles of cyber warfare. This is meant to be an establishment of international law for dealing with these questions. The most recent manual, 2.0, really looks at the presence of international law in cyberspace, and it refines the meaning of cyber warfare. It really refines the meaning of cyber operations. And it is meant to be a thoughtful look at what we mean by these two topics, because thoughtfulness is required. If we make a statement that country A did XYZ online, then we need to be aware that this could be fighting words and grounds for a shooting war. And I think we want to avoid that. So I think it's time to really step back and give some thought to the implications of our online presence in all of its manifestations, how it's growing, how it's escalating in terms of the tools that we're placing online, what it's doing to society, how interconnected and dependent we are, and what this means for a survival of our institutions. This is something we haven't had to wrestle with. We had earlier an opportunity to think about transitions that we went through as societies, from agricultural to industrial to information age. And I would posit that we're only at the beginning of comprehending what it means to exist in the information age. From now on, the changes to society are going to be accelerating. And certainly understanding the nature of cyber warfare and what that means and how it's distinguishable from cybercrime is a question that I hope we begin to wrestle with openly and seriously as a society as we move through the next few years.